Hello everybody, welcome back to another stream as always. Hope you're doing well. Right, so what did we do last stream? I think it was mostly just Jagged Peak, right? So we did, oh yeah. So we did all of Jagged Peak, and then we did the Florisax quest line and ended things with fighting Placidusax. So today I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I had the thought earlier in the day that there was a place that I still needed to visit. I think it might have just been Charo's grave and potentially the Lamenter's jail. And then after that, I'm thinking of going towards the Shadow Keep and maybe to Midra's Manse, because then we'll just have like the northern portion of the map to deal with at that point. Alright, so yeah, I think that's a pretty good plan, so that's what we'll stick with for now. So let's go to where we had seen Florisax, and we also summoned Florisax for the Placidusax fight just a little bit. So alrighty then, let's go ahead and switch back to the Mimic. Not that I really intend to use it too much, but anyway. Alright. Astinex, Dylan, Clownscum, welcome into the stream. How's it going? As much as Astinex loves Bloodborne, that music always makes you shiver a little, just the way it hits. Are you talking about the Elden Ring title screen? Yeah, because it's really, really good. So we did go towards like the very beginning of Charo's grave, and then I just turned around because I wanted to explore around the gigantic dragon corpse. You've had COVID? Ooh, are you better now? Hope everything is going well. I was kind of fortunate when I got COVID that it wasn't that bad. It was just kind of like a fever. And so I had been playing Vampire Survivors right before I got COVID. And so when I had COVID, I just had fever dreams of playing Vampire Survivors. So all in all, my COVID experience wasn't that bad, because it could have been a lot worse. Alright, so as we come into Charo's hidden grave, we get the Gravekeeper's Cookbook 2. We get some of the hairy turtles, which might be Crucible influence because they've got horns and everything. And, oh yeah, I didn't talk about it in the Golden Hippo fight because I was just focused on clearing it. The hippos themselves seem to have, like, crocodile-type feet. Or alligator. I don't remember the difference. Which one is like more aquatic? Anyway, so when we come into Charo's hidden grave and whatnot, we've got these kind of red spider lily type flowers, which are emblematic of death in Japan. And there's a term. So these are called the Higanbana in Japanese, and Higan itself can be understood as like I'm probably gonna misphrase this. Let me just look this up real quick so I don't misspeak here. So I pissed it off, or maybe it just disappeared of its own volition. Okay, maybe it's that's okay. That seems like its own thing. All right, so Higan. Alright. Gonna link it in the chat for you all. Vampire Survivors is addictive for real though. Damn it, I put top chat on, not live chat. That's my fault. Gotta get rid of the heart thing again. Oh, there we go. Right. So, Higan is a Buddhist holiday exclusively celebrated by Japanese sects for 7 days, 3 days before and after both the spring equinox, Shunbun, and autumnal equinox, Shubun. It is observed by nearly every Buddhist school in Japan. The tradition... Oh, my mouse is all screwed up. The tradition extends from mild weather that occurs during the time of equinoxes, though the origin of the holiday dates from Emperor Shomu in the 8th century. Alright, that's not too important. Higan is the Japanese pronunciation of the Chinese translation of the Sanskrit term for the other shore, the cycle of death and rebirth, samsara. It's this shore, and in Buddhism, crossing to the other side is used to refer to the attainment of nirvana. Okay, so I was going to say like the parallel between worlds, which is kind of accurate, but mostly not, so I didn't want to entirely misspeak. So yeah, this kind of what I thought it was. And so I do find it really thematic that when we come into this field of red spider lilies, that they have like a kind of river or a creek, because for those who may not know, and we just talked about that briefly in that definition of what Higan is that the Japanese afterlife is kind of represented by crossing a river and entering the other world that way. So it's kind of like when you watch Spirited Away, Chihiro and her family like cross like a tiny brook or something like that initially. And then as it progresses to night, it almost becomes like a veritable ocean. So, some cultural context. So, Japanese people will definitely see the red spider lilies and associate this place with death, which isn't going to be as apparent to people from other audiences. Not so tough without your little buddies, are ya? And of course, like the Tibia Mariners themselves are kind of potentially emblematic of the whole idea of the ferryman of the underworld, whether that be Karen or what's the Egyptian one that I'm forgetting right now? Anyway, we got the Tibia's cookbook, and I pissed off some Lose Live in Death. So we'll just get rid of them. Right, and over here, we will pick up some really cool Ghost Flame Bloom, which is a kind of spider lily, although this one's like translucent blue rather than red. But it looks like all the other lilies here, except for the colors. So let's go ahead and check all of this stuff out. Cloud Scum is mostly better, just sniffly. Well, I'm glad you're doing well, all things considered. Alright. Hey Boris, nice to see you again, and our Crusader. You love Spirited Away? Gotta rewatch that sometime, yeah. Alright, so the Grave... Oh, these are different. Gravekeeper's Cookbook and the Tibia's Cookbook. Alright. A record of crafting techniques of the Mariners, the oldest of Gravekeepers. Details an ancient means of summoning the dead. Acquire the knowledge to craft the following. Call of Tibia. Whereas the crafting techniques of the Gravekeepers who watch over those who rest in the realm of Shadow. So this could be one of the indications that the realm of Shadow may have originally been the realm or place where death gathered, and that kind of gets supported by the suppression tower or tower of suppression, pillar of suppression, whatever it is. But we also do have that whole complication of what all that's meant when the lands between and the realm of Shadow were still like one place, geographically speaking. So we were talking about that a bit on the Discord, I think, or maybe I had some comments on like yesterday's stream on the video itself. So somebody had brought up the idea that it's like a closed loop system, that when the lands between and the Shadowlands were together, death didn't necessarily escape the lands, but now it might, or it might just be like filtered into the Erdtree. That could have been like part of America's goal with separating the two lands, but you know, we've got all that lore detailing it somewhere. All right, so Ghost Flame Bloom. Ghost Flame flower that grows in grave sites. Blossoms in the hidden grave of Charo. Oh, Charo? I wonder if that's like Caro, like Karen, or... Anyway. Don't know why I didn't think about that. Of a pair with another gravesite flower, the grave violet. All but incorporeal, it burns without so much as a sound. And that will be used in the crafting of what... I do wish that you could see what materials were used with the cookbooks, but it's not that important. I kind of wish I had the icon open to see like what that little... Oh, maybe it's like a Tibia Mariner shroud on top of the pages. I think that makes sense. Like those little, I guess they're not lockets, but you know what I mean, the medallions or whatnot. So we get the Polterstone and the Call of Tibia from these. No, I don't mean the Nile, but I'm pretty sure the Egyptians had their own kind of analog to the Karen type figure. But I don't remember off the top of my head. Alright, so what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was going to look at Polterstone and the Call of Tibia. And we'll be able to pick up the Call of Tibia somewhere around here. I don't remember exactly if we pick up Polterstones in this region, but nonetheless. Call of Tibia. An ancient ceremonial tool that uses a Gravekeeper's skull as a catalyst. Uses FP to summon one lost in death at the spot that it is thrown. The creature spins and mows down foes in the vicinity 3 times before dissipating. The dead have been long left to wander. What they need is leadership. Alright. Now, Polterstone? Nope. Yeah, okay. Contrivance of the Gravekeepers made from spirit gravestone. Creates noise imitative of human presence where it lands when thrown. Said to have been used by the solitary Gravekeepers to distract themselves from their longing for company. So I guess maybe Gravekeepers were actual people, although the Tibia Mariners were also said to be Gravekeepers. So maybe they're just like a different form of it? Curious about that. Anyway, we did use one of those stones before. It just kind of sounded like somebody rolling around, which is kind of creepy and stomping, but feels bad, man. They're left for eternity, and not even the dead offer them company. Which that idea will kind of come up again in the Shadow Keep with one of the, I forget what the Mesmer Fire dudes are called. But he tries to, like, reanimate the dead with fire because he's a lonely boy. Come on. There we go. Death, death. Alright, so I don't think there's anything else down here, but then once we get to the next area, it gets quite annoying trying to deal with things. So maybe I should do like another look that way just to be safe. Zug zug. I don't remember if I looked at the cerulean coast flowers to see if they were like blue flower or spider lilies, but they might be. I should double check that sometime. And like if anybody watched Demon Slayer, I think damn it, what's the bad dude's name? The main villain, like he wants to get a blue spider lily because he thinks it has some like crazy powers that can essentially make him immortal and not suffer the bad effects of being a demon. So like these flowers are like a pretty big cultural trope for Japan. Grave Glovewort 7. I think I needed that for the mimic. Or do I need the other variant of the flower? I tend to forget which Glovewort is which. Alright, so I think that's it for here. And I don't think there's anything up on that hill. Yeah, so I do really like the appearance of Charo's hidden grave. It just kind of sucks that this is another relatively empty-ish area. And that there's not really a ton of lore to go along with it either. I screwed up. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's ever a time that one would want to really defeat all the little Blorbo eels, but if they ever drop something, I won't know about it just because it really isn't that big a deal. Wait, oh, that's just a note. And so from Charo's hidden grave, you can come down back to the Cerulean Fields. Since I was just talking about the flowers over here, I just want to double check them. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I didn't think they were spider lilies, but I haven't really bothered to check what analogs these flowers have to any in real life. 6 petals? Okay. Oh no, we have a couple different types. I didn't mean to pull that out, but good enough. So some are 5, some are 6. All right, let's go back that way. What if defeating all the eels finally unlocks the hidden Gek boss fight? Well, then I will rely on the data miners to let me know how to unlock that. Dylan wishes that one of the gloveworts was purplish, would make it much easier to remember the difference. So the difference between them is that you can kind of see the ghosts coming off of some of them. So grave gloveworts and okay, ghost gloveworts have ghosts, like the little dudes. So tier 7 versus 8. That's pretty much the difference. So maybe that's what I'll remember. But I mean, grave and ghost, it's pretty easy to confuse the two. So I got the wrong type of flower for what I was trying to do. All right. So this next area, this boss might have killed me the most out of all in the DLC just because I had no blessings and I was not about to fight it. Well, I mean, I did try to fight it like normally, but this is awful. I eventually broke down and summoned my skeletal militiamen just so I could have the chance to rot it properly. But I was not having a good time by any means. So the way that I dealt with it was I killed these 2 dudes over here. Then I summoned in the terrifying Rite Bird. I should have waited. Schnikes. And then I kind of just kited it this way. And then I rotted it. But I screwed that up. Alright. Yeah, part of the most annoying thing about this guy was that he could one-combo me. Like, it was a one-shot combo that if I got hit with the first attack, it would just one-shot me. So it wasn't a technical one-shot. Oh, wow, that did no damage to me. So maybe I shouldn't be screwed after all. It didn't help that I wasn't really using a holy weapon. Oh yeah, this is way easier. I didn't rot him after all. That's the grab. Alright, now he seems rotted. Yep, he's got the cloud on him. Oh no, my mimic! Well, he did its job. Or it did its job. It's a weird way to say it. That's the bad one. That attack can definitely one-shot you if you get stuck in the bad portion of its flames, like its follow-on flames. I was trying to roll. Normally use Torrent for this, but I don't want to accidentally piss off the other grave birds. And one of the nice things is if you do try to fight this guy under leveled, you can always get a couple more vials by killing some of the surrounding grave birds. Yeah, that is ridiculously easier with only 11 blessings. I thought this was going to be like slightly more challenging. Well, obviously it also helped that I summoned a bit, but anyway. Hey, Jay Dixon, welcome back to the stream. Hi, man. Nice to have you. This bird was rough. Your condolences? Yeah. Dylan says, it's actually very unusual for single species to have a flower of both 5 and 6 petal variants. Yeah, this isn't the first time they've done something like that in a FromSoft game, which is why I didn't like really remark on it too much. Because we had something similar going on with the variants of flower within the Hunter's Dream in Bloodborne. But you were definitely right, and I should commend you for like bringing that back to my attention, because I just kind of like took it for granted because I don't have the energy to really think about that too hard. Conscom said, you don't think you ever found this bird? This DLC's huge, bro. Yeah. Of the new weapons, what were I finding I was having the most fun with? Oh, definitely this weapon. I haven't used a lot. I'm actually a big fan of the new Smith Script Great Hammer. Just like thematically, I think it's really cool. It's kind of fun to play with. I also really like Anna's claws from like the Night Warriors, whatever they are. So, did I rest? Yes. Okay. I should have leveled up though. And then I will read our description of the Ash of War. And yeah, so I spent so long trying to kill that damn death bird, and the reward wasn't even like that rewarding. Feels bad, man. I mean, it's a cool thing, don't get me wrong. Ash of War, Ghost Flame Call. Ghost Flame Call. Thrust out armament to summon Ghost Flame. Follow up with a normal attack to set the ground ablaze with Ghost Flame, or a strong attack to trigger a massive explosion. Usable on swords and spears. So, it's kind of like the Death Poker Rancor thing, whatever it's called, that comes with the poker that the Deathbirds wield. So I think as an Ash of War, it's pretty cool. But I mean, like, by the time you get to the DLC, like, a lot of this stuff is going to be underwhelming relatively to the kind of absolutely broken stuff that you can get elsewhere in both the base game and the DLC. It's kind of like the same thing with the Ghost Flame Breath, which is part of why I haven't bothered to fight any of the Ghost Flame Dragons on this playthrough. Got him eventually. Alright. Mostly used the flask for Torrent, because he just takes so much damage. Granted, I could probably get more of the Revered Spirit Ash, but it doesn't ever seem like it's really buffed him at all. I almost want to make a video to compare the two. Or maybe it doesn't need to be a video, but I just want to like record the process of getting hit by one enemy attack with 0 blessings versus 10, just to see if there's actually a difference, and if so, a visible one. Which I guess you don't really get like a numeric bar to look at Torrent's HP. Oh, so we get some grave crickets by some of the statues. And tumbleweed. And I think we get our last, well, second to last Grave Bird item over here. Oh, wait, no, this isn't it. We get the Spirit Glaive, which is pretty cool. You suck so much at fighting Deathbirds? So do I, man. You should have seen how much time I spent on my 1.0 playthrough trying to kill a Rite Bird with a Frost build. It was really good. Alright, so Spirit Glaive. Sharp blade sculpted into a twisted shape. A glaive that has seen many years of use in the gravesite. Said to serve as a medium for communion with spirits. So we got a similar weapon to this down below us by the demi-humans, where the other Baby Yoda was, the other Grogu. Which I don't remember what that one's called, and it's been so long. Let's go this way. Is it a dagger? No. Anyway, it's not too important. It pretty much says the same thing. Okay, Spirit Sword. So this gives us Rancor Slash versus... Oh, it's the same skill. Okay. I haven't messed around with these too much, but they honestly didn't seem like bad weapons. It's just... There's such other cool stuff to choose, it's hard to, like, really go back. Hey, Humble Gamer, welcome back. All these new weapons and ashes are more suited to a thematic theme or build for a new character. Not easy to synergize with late game broken builds. You need to get fairly basic equipment. Exactly. I feel like, especially as high as the DLC scales, you know what? Maybe it doesn't really scale that highly, except for maybe Radon. Just because, like, I really haven't had any trouble fighting the bosses so far in this playthrough. But to be fair, I also struggled enough against them on my Blessingless run that I definitely had to get comfortable with a certain amount of their moves. So it's probably not the most fair assessment for me to make. But it really hasn't been bad. But I also like to explore. I don't feel like I'm that ahead on my blessings, though, for some of the places that I've been to. Alright, so before we head on over here, let's go ahead and craft some hefty fire pots. So I think I'm going to need to... Wait, don't I have 5? Did I already have one still? Yes, okay. So I might need more than this, which is going to suck if that happens, but anyway. Yeah, there's really not a ton over here. I think you can get like a Call of Tibia somewhere. And then, for whatever reason, aside from these grave birds, we do have a bunch of Miranda flowers over here, which is kind of cool. And these seem to be the normal variant. Oh, it'd be kind of cool if they were like Ghost Flame Miranda flowers. Oh yeah, I forgot about the hippo. Oh lord, you looking. So now you can see it's like alligator type feet. So it does seem very chimeric despite its initial appearance. Oh, that did no damage. Okay. And hippos ain't crap when they ain't got the tiniest of arenas to break the camera against. And also torrent. Uh-oh, that's gonna hurt. I still don't know if the new raisins actually heal torrent very much. I should test that after this fight. Alright, so now that the hippo is down, we get another Shadu Tree fragment. Apparently they all have these fragments, which is kind of interesting. I didn't realize that, but somebody had made a comment about it. Maybe it was in chat or on one of the videos. Just a pretty good observation. Another Ghost Flame Bloom. It's kind of weird to me when the items have like the extra icon pop up versus when they don't. Was there some? I thought there was something I was going to talk about. Oh well. Hey Nectarine, welcome back. It feels weird that we never got any lore about Charo's grave, even on the map. Yeah, and so like one of the coolest areas in the game just becomes kind of a nothing burger. And then it kind of gets like, I don't want to say ruined, but I don't think this stupid armored golem is the proverbial icing on the cake. Dylan wants to try death build at some point. The DLC fills out the death sorceries a bit. Yeah. Dylan's been doing a dagger only build lately and it's going so rough. So that reminded me, we watched a video on stream a long time ago. I'm really bad at remembering who produces what videos, but somebody was saying like they had their girlfriend play the game and she did terribly. Or maybe it was the first Dark Souls. He might have had his girlfriend play the first Dark Souls and she picked a class with the dagger because that appealed to her. And it wasn't her fault for knowing that the dagger was like the worst starting class that you could essentially choose. So she was kind of boned and didn't know any better. Whereas like he had her play Elden Ring and she did a lot better this time around, maybe because it held the player's hand a bit more. What are some of your guys' smaller questions that went unanswered? You still want to know how Ronnie and Melina got Mikola's belongings? That's a good question. As for smaller questions, I don't know, maybe I'm not too interested in small stuff. I tend to be a lot more interested in the bigger picture, and I guess the small stuff helps me get there. But I don't know if it's fair to say it's small or not, but just like character motivations is my biggest desire to know more about them. And I don't necessarily mean like Radahn in relation to Mikola as much as I do like Marika and half the stuff relating to her. So now we're just going to chill until we could eventually get that damn golem over here. Dylan finds no matter what build you've used first, your first playthrough is always the hardest. But you've never really done challenge runs of any kind. I mean, that makes sense because the first time around, you're still like learning the systems and the placements of enemies. Honestly, just knowing enemy placements is a huge... I guess you can't really call it like a skill check, but it can definitely affect how things go. I hate these attacks, man. That might have been my fault for not healing Torrent, but this is so dumb. Like, in general. I'm gonna die. And that didn't kill it. Oh lord. Okay, this is... How many damn pots do I need to kill this guy? It's so annoying that you can't craft in the middle of stuff like this. Because like his aggro range is pretty much forever. Not literally, but functionally it doesn't really feel that different. And then because you can't really buy a lot of these materials anywhere. It's one of my biggest gripes about Elden Ring and a lot of the economies in the FromSoft games. They just never get it in a good enough spot to feel entirely satisfying for me. Dylan asks, were those creatures originally hippos then, or did they start as something totally different? That's a good question. I'm not sure. They're probably just like how they are, and they may have been like, they may have grown bigger because of the Shadow Tree fragment consumption, or just like eating other horned things. Oh, this is so stupid. All right. And then Elmo, welcome back, or no, welcome into the stream. I don't believe I've seen your name before. And Save Frog, welcome back. It's interesting that the Miranda Flower skill is similar to Mikola's Ring of Light. So I'm in extra combat now because I can't open up my menu even. There we go. I'm going to be super salty if I die on the way back to that guy. I might just need to kill some more grave birds to get flasks. He's got a horse sticking out of him. Trying to do this to kite the flames in a better spot. Not like this, please. Okay. Okay, I got him. Glovewort Crystal Tier plus the Furnace Visage. So I needed, what, 5 total? That's a lot. The Glovewort Crystal Tier gives us the ability to enhance the attack power of spirits. Oh, it does look like there's Glovewort in the middle of it. That's kind of interesting. Guess I survived barely. I think that was the first golem I killed in my playthrough, because I didn't want to deal with the others. So this might have been the one I was thinking of? Nope, okay. I was scared I was about to like run off the cliff. Right. Frog will never not be salty about being shafted on the Glowmite Queen. Conscum says, speaking of big questions, you just watched Smotown's new vid, and he suggested the being America pulls the strings out of in the trailer is the god of the horn scent. Any thoughts on that? I am not sure. I mean, I think thematically it could certainly make a lot of sense, and I think as a theory it's very sensible. But I'm also the type of person who's extremely skeptical of anything, and because FromSoft has betrayed my trust before on certain things, it makes me reticent to fully place stock into things that are purposely left ambiguous. And maybe we could blame that on being kicked off one too many cliffs by patches, or characters like Imposter Yosefka deceiving the player, or even Alfred, but I don't know, that's just kind of how I am. It only took Nectarine 3 pots, but you had a faith build. I thought it only took 3 pots. It only took 3 pots to kill the last one. Maybe I didn't hit it in the right spot. I feel a little bit turned around. No, I should have been fine going this way. Maybe I was a little bit too far to the right. No, this is way too far north. Oh, okay, yeah, now I know. Now I know where I am. I just want to go down and to the left. So I don't remember if this jump is fine. It's certainly not. It looked at me funny. Thanks for the good work. And so, yeah, the god alleged god of the horn scent being at Anir Lim and defeated by America could make sense. But the thing that bothers me, and this isn't like a criticism of Smowtown as much as it is like the game, is that odd depiction of the Elden Ring in Fair Missoula and how there's no like overt connections to Fair Missoula and Anir Lim, or like the Elden Ring in Anir Lim, which isn't to say that there isn't or wasn't a connection, but it's like, bro, what's going on? Alright, so we get to the Lamenter's jail. And this one is a pretty, maybe intense isn't the right word, involved cave jail system. Pretty easy to get turned around in there. Just want to double check if there were any items over here. Almost jumped off the cliff. Okay. Hey, that's what we needed. So maybe I should go back to the round table hold, like level up the Mimic. Actually, that might not be a bad idea just for the Lamenter fight. Which shouldn't be a problem, but it's a little bit annoying. Right, yeah, I think I'll do that. Alright. Was this Statue of America always broken, or does that happen specifically after you burn the round table hold? Most of my playthroughs were on version 1.05, and I didn't want to update my game in case it broke my camera mod.
I see. Yep.
So that's the kind of thing I'm less knowledgeable about. Alright, now we have the maxed out Mimic. Just because I was missing one tier of the thing. And that is one thing that I also wish that they did, was that they would allow you to either like downgrade materials or something, or if they had a bit more redundancy in the places to obtain bell bearings. Because it's kind of silly that unless you go into one specific cave system here or there, you're kind of screwed out of upgrade options. Which I guess there's a bit of redundancy in like picking up individual items, so it's not the worst, but still not my favorite. So that is locked. Frozen maggot. So one thing we were talking about on the Discord made me link to this Chinese concept called like the goo jar. GU, not like GOO, in which there was like a Chinese belief that if you stuck a bunch of like centipedes, scorpions, snakes, venomous like creatures together inside a jar and let them essentially fight it out, the creature that remained would be like the most venomous thing ever, and then you could use that thing to concoct super deadly poison. And there was something in the article on Wikipedia which I linked and I didn't know about, which talked about how I think in that Chinese belief the spirit could be like, hold on, I'll link it in chat because I don't remember exactly and I want to talk about it a bit more concisely. So Kodoku equals Mom found the goo jar. Oh no. Alright. So where are we? Okay, in the in-fiction part of it. Oh, okay. So In Teito Monogatari, the protagonist Yasunori Kato is a master of Kodoku magic and uses it to manipulate his victims. The spirit is represented as an insectoid worm, Fukuchu Mushi, which lives in the stomach of the victim. So, I was wondering if this Mushi, this bug, could be analogous to the types of frozen maggots in this thing. And so I had never heard of Teito Monogatari, and apparently it was illustrated by Yoshitaka Amano, who is the dude who is probably most famous in the West for creating a lot of the key art for the Final Fantasy series. So I kind of want to like look into this just because I've never actually really looked at his stuff beyond the Final Fantasy stuff. And according to the Wikipedia page for Teito Monogatari, we have hold on, where was it? Okay, it was widely regarded as the first mainstream novel to popularize Onmyodo and Husui mythology in modern Japanese fiction. So, Onmyodo are kind of like Taoists, sort of. There's really not like a good way to translate that word. I think Taoist is the best, but maybe Onmyodo is getting a bit more traction. And this is kind of a revelation to me that they weren't really popularized as a concept until like the late 80s. So I'm definitely intrigued about that whole situation going on there. So this could just be a coincidence, but I still don't entirely know what's going on with the frozen maggots. So this might just be a lead to follow up on. And if it doesn't really amount to anything, I think the subject material, at a glance, it sounds interesting enough to me that I might want to look into it. So figured you guys might like to hear about that, even if you don't look it up yourselves. Our Crusader said you believe it was broken beforehand, but that may be a Mandela effect kind of thing. Okay. Oh yeah, and then I saw a post today that apparently the Great Sword of Solitude may or may not cast a shadow. So that's something that I want to look into as well on tonight's stream. Please, I can't stand this sound. I need no salvation. Please, stop. Desist. Your wretched lamentation. So we are in the Lamenter's jail. We've got a Hornsent who gave us the lamentation prattling pate, which will be fun to use. And it says, it's a twisted clay sculpt in the shape of a human head, emits a blissful lamentation. The voice resounds, seeping into the brain, weeping, 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 ever weeping. So I will have more to say about that stuff when we actually do get the Lamenter's item and whatnot. Nectarine says, Monogatari is one of those insanely long manga series that you're too exhausted to start. I think this is, well, here's the thing, like, Monogatari just kind of means, like, story, essentially. And I think the Monogatari series that you're talking about is a different thing. Because I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember what the mangaka's name is. Good thing we had this note in front of the chest telling us that there's an item in it. I guess that made more sense for like Dark Souls when there were like mimics, but it's just really, bro. Alright. Jail upper level key. A frozen iron key opens the iron grating on the upper level of the Lamenter's jail. So now we can get by that door, which I ignored because it was closed. Dylan loves these kind of weird items. I may as well rest because we're not going to go back to that upper area. And I can't fast travel. But speaking of the Monogatari series, I haven't watched or like read the main flagship title, but I did watch like the short Katanagatari anime, and I really enjoyed it. I was kind of surprised. So the soundtrack is phenomenal for it. The art style is interesting, but I was just like looking to kill time when I watched it, and I was just, definitely entertained, so can't complain about that. Think we go down here first, essentially. This is one of the jails that I know the least well. That's kind of a lie. Like, I had to spend a decent chunk of time coming back in here to get some Lamenter footage, but it's a pain because it's kind of easy to not know where to proceed to, and I think I screwed up. I don't think I wanted to go that way first. I think I needed to explore the rest of the doors. I locked on. I would have been fine if I hadn't. But because I did lock on, I swung too high. I'm surprised that wasn't a critical attack. So here we get the clarifying horn charm +2, and we can see where we will eventually need to go. So I'm not like too upset for having made this detour. Now we just need to find the one with the ladder, which I think is to the left. Yeah. I forget that in the jail, sometimes you get like the twinkly sounds of other areas, which kind of annoys me because it sounds like the scarabs, but they're not. Oh yeah, so obviously since we're in the jail, we'll get a bunch of Jar Miko again. Get human bone shards, interesting, I guess. Uh-oh. I got distracted because it's kind of hard to tell. Does this one have less faces than the other? Or are they the same model? It's fine because I don't want to go fight those rats anyway. And I don't think I need to go down there after all. Message on the ladder is always nice. So yeah, somebody on my last video in the last day or two had made a comment that these Jar Miko with all the faces on them kind of look like seeds of stars, i.e. the Graven Skull masses, and I'm really surprised I didn't think about that when talking about them. No, maybe it does have the same amount of faces on it. And speaking about like the horn scent god or goddess, whatever it was, some people have wondered whether or not it was like a Jar Miko type thing that America had killed, or was like pulling the strands out of, because the icon on the pot innards looks like it could have similar strands of gold within it itself. So we get the chilling perfume bottle from the jail, which says, it's a perfume bottle remade into a weapon by perfumers of the realm of shadow. Attacks release perfumed powder, producing an icy chill. From time to time, perfumers set out on journeys to pursue new aromatics and flower gardens. So it's like virtually identical as the other ones. Clarifying horn charm. I don't remember if we got... Did we get any of the other ones? Yeah, okay. So this says pretty much the exact same thing as the immunizing horn charm in that horns are sublime artifacts to horn scent, and their presence confirms the belief that they are a chosen people. Only the repeated sprouting of fresh horns can create a tangled horn, which is viewed as an irrefutable symbol of primacy. So, I had mentioned it like the first time we got that other horn charm, in that it really surprised me that they had such a different description from the other two tiers of horns talismans, because those ones were more directly related to the what are they called, the ancestral follower people, and these ones are more horn scent, so it's just kind of rare for such a difference between the tier of a description rather than like a repeating of the original text. So yeah, if you look at the center of the innard meat icon there, and ever so slightly to the right, there is like a little fleck of gold. It kind of reminds me of the symbol of the centipede, if you guys see what I'm talking about. I don't think I can like enlarge it to make it a bit clearer. I might need to look into the PS5 accessibility settings to see if there's something I could do about that. Because I know you could do it on the PS4, where if you held like 2 buttons down, you could zoom in on a part of the screen. Alright, so now that we've fallen down, we should start getting the things we need to progress. Yeah, and that horn scent dude is kind of crying, so we finally got that Call of Tibia item. I thought there was one above ground in the grave, although to be fair, I didn't explore it as fully as I could have. So that's our first time to pick it up. Alright, so now that we come over here, we get to see some jar bairns playing airplane. It's always cute, especially because, you know, they're on a gigantic mountain of corpses. So this is the first crucible. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it is kind of interesting that the Gate of Divinity is stuffed to the brim with corpses. But when you think about it, there's probably a comparable number to what's in the Gate of Divinity, at least like the tower part of it, just in this room alone, which is pretty terrifying, I guess, all things considered. Hey Pigsy, how's it going? Welcome back to the stream. I will read you in a second. That's what I get for locking on. There we go. Don't know if you guys just heard my dog sneeze. It startled me a little bit. Alright, I think we're in the clear for now. Okay. You wonder if the idea is that the jars were emptied at the base of the Divine Tower like minor Erdtrees? Marika takes the golden thread from a jar innard that contained a god skin? That's an interesting question. If that were the case, I would have almost imagined that we would have gotten some like more jar shards, if not like in a literal item pickup sense, than in a bit more of a like visual thing. Like we have like broken jars here, or like fragments of pottery, but none of that really in a near limb. Whoopsies. Did I get the hefty cracked pot? Did I not kill that other dude? No, okay. stuff like this. It's raining blood. It's kind of like a weird thing to say, because I'm like, Hallelujah, also the Slayer song, so. Living jar shard. Uh-oh. And raw meat dumpling. Speaking of raw meat dumplings, this dude's harvesting corpses, maybe for its own gain. I do kind of wish I had that one little jar talisman which talks about like the goodness of its innards being like better than itself. And we don't necessarily know if the jar folk that have like the clay arms and legs are... I don't think I've ever seen the like lid pop off like this. We don't know if they are... if they like lack Miko, or if they're made a slightly different way than the one with all the ladies, or the type with all the ladies, I guess. So... now we finally got our jail lower level key, which we have not seen that door yet, I don't believe, but it'll all tie back together. And this was the sewer rat area. So now I believe we get to backtrack. Fair point, it doesn't exactly look like they cleaned up the mess afterwards. And I-Man says she takes it from Metter, and what she takes is yet to become the Elden Beast. So, like, if that's the case, it does bother me that we don't have very much, if at all, any imagery of not necessarily Metter, but like the two fingers or fingers in general in a near a limb, which that criticism can also be levied at Fair Missoula, but at the very least there is that kind of odd depiction of the Elden Ring there, and it is also a possibility that... hold on, did we want to go through here? It's a possibility that okay, now this is fine. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. It's a possibility that the Elden Rune depiction in Fair Missoula could have been added later and wasn't necessarily a product of that civilization originally. And maybe it was something done by the conquerors of Fair Missoula, like Malekith's and Marika's peoples. But I'm not particularly fond of that reading either, just because Malekith is described as the beast clergyman of Fair Missoula. And I think like the Beast Claw talisman, which the Beastmen wield, says that it's Malekith's rage that they summon, or something like that. So he seems to have had like kind of an important role in Fair Missoula, which does call into question like if Marika had a role in Fair Missoula, and if so, what, when, and how. And then that was kind of all fine in the base game as it was, but now it makes it a bit more headache-inducing trying to square all of that with the Miko of the Shaman village from which Marika came. Alright, so we have 6 flasks. We should be mostly fine, but alright. So maybe I'll die on purpose just to show off the effect, or maybe it'll just happen naturally. So as we come up here, we get faced with a kind of distinctive looking horn scent type guy. Some people think that he has Ghost Flame style attacks, or maybe Black Flame. I don't really think it matters too much, in that I don't think the devs particularly coded it any specific way. So if you fight the Lamenter, if you identify the main one and do enough damage to him, you should be able to break the kind of spell. And one way that you figure that out is by seeing which one doesn't die or get hit. Which apparently I just have the worst RNG. Oh my god. And you should be able to tell apart the big Lamenter, the proper one, I think by like it being covered in blood. Or if you do something like rotting it, might work. Why did that one just die? So if you get hit too much with their attacks... Is that the bloody one? Yeah. You can get insta-killed. So we have how many Lamenter skulls on us right now? Like 5 or 6? And if he gets it further, we will just automatically die. Okay, no, yeah, we're missing one spot. It's kind of cool. Where's our bloody guy? That one. I whiffed it! So we need to kill him before they all laugh at us. Okay. Yeah, so that time it looked like we did enough damage to the proper one that they all just kind of went away. So we got the Lamenter's Mask. That was a lot easier with blessings. Which I say that for like every fight now, but anyway. Right. A stone mask twisted into an expression of rapturous grief, used while disrobed to transform into a Lamenter. The change cannot be undone except by death. Using this mask while already transformed causes the head to swell in size. This transformation tallies with the state of a denizen of paradise, but the people of the tower denied and hid it from the world. In their foolishness, they viewed true bliss with deep fear. So I know some people will question the veracity of this item description, but I think it's probably accurate with a bit of a caveat, which I will talk about in a moment. But the jail lower level key says pretty much nothing, so I'm not going to worry about that. We're going to go ahead and teleport out, and then I will talk about that stuff. And we'll go back to the Shadow Keep now. Was there any place else that I haven't really explored? Oh, we did all that. We haven't fully done that. So yeah, I guess we still have Bonnie Village, which I'm waiting to do it with the Shaman Village. And that'll just be after the Shadow Keep mostly. Okay. Alrighty. Let me hydrate real quick. Thank you for the nicely done. Appreciate that. Alright, let's put on our Crepus Vial again and read. Alright, so the Lamenter Mask says that... Wait a second, I didn't get the lantern. We weren't done with that jail after all. My favorite item in the game, and I forgot it. Did I kill Ramen the Tasty Bud? No, I was going to do that after Mesmer. Which is probably going to be a pushover beyond pushovers. Unfortunately, with blessings. I'm assuming, just because I really didn't have much difficulty with her without blessings. Once I figured, like, oh, you just walk up and hit her. And, yeah. Okay, so... Man, I want to talk about the Lamenter stuff, but I also want to get the lantern first. Hey, Stella. Nice to see you again. Alright, so where was the lantern? I think it was in those rooms that kind of like twist on themselves. Wait, no, we went up there, but we didn't go this way, maybe? Wait, this brings us back this way. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. I think we're getting chased. I didn't realize. Yeah, okay. That scream attack is kind of reminiscent of what the grafted scions do. Which, if you think about it, I wasn't going to really make this connection because I think it's just kind of more incidental. In that these things are kind of grafted together too, in a bit of a literal sense. But probably not the same kind of grafting as with the other guys. Or maybe it is. Maybe there's not really that much of a difference. So this is from the rat area, so we don't need to go back that way. Or was the lantern in the first area? Pokemon said everything about the Lamenter feels so random, and it still does. Yeah, I could definitely understand that. I do think it provides a bit of structural support for some aspects of the lore relating to the horn scent that I'm pretty eager to talk about. Elden enthusiast, how's it going? Only tarnish works for grafting, right? Are we somehow shaman? America's everyone's mummy. Well, what's her face? The Hornsent Grandam does say that they need to cleanse all of the vile strumpet's progeny. Okay, yeah, this is the way that I wanted to go, I think. Wait, no? Right, okay, yeah, that's what it was. Used jail lower level key. Shadow Realm rune, tier 4. Lamenting Visage, hell yeah. So this is like a must-have item. That's the actual Lamenter. Where is me lantern? Oh, right. It's a torch. Of course. So that is it for this dungeon. So let's go back to the Shadow Keep. What's trumpet? You know. The trombone. Beautiful. Nice. So the Lamenting Visage says it's a stone lantern carved to resemble a lamenting human head. The eyes vacantly beaming out lights can be raised up when equipped in the left hand, illuminating more of the surrounding area. The unusual expression somehow imparts a sense of contentment, the languid ease of one who needs not sight. Unique skill, blindfold of happiness. Swing the head while covering the eyes, unleashing a wail of lamentation while temporarily making the user of this skill harder to see. To those who seek happiness, blindness is bliss. So, this isn't like super important to talk about the other thing that I wanted to talk about, but I think having this as a reference material will kind of help highlight what I'm going to talk about in a moment here. So, this transformation tallies with the state of a denizen of paradise, with the people who... Wait. Okay, yeah. But the people of the tower denied and hid it from the world. In their foolishness, they viewed true bliss with deep fear. So, the first line talks about rapturous grief, which seems like an oxymoron. And this might not make sense for a lot of people, but if anybody in chat has played Bloodborne, there is an item called the Madman's Knowledge, which let's go ahead and read. I'm gonna pull it up on me sheets. I believe it's the Madman's Knowledge. Okay, so it's not the Madman's Knowledge. Maybe it's the Frenzied. Which one is it? Okay, Frenzied Cold Blood might be it. Hold on, Madman's Knowledge. Yeah, okay, so it's kind of a little bit subtextual between them, but close enough. So that is the Madman's Knowledge description, and then this is the Frenzied Cold Blood description. There might be another one that I'm forgetting. Let's see, Enlightenment. Okay, it's Great One Cold Blood. That's what it is. Maybe. Okay. So, making contact with Eldritch Wisdom is a blessing, for even if it drives one mad, it allows one to serve a grander purpose for posterity. This manifestation of madness comes from a mind teetering on the very brink, but has a sane mind ever produced anything of true significance? Like a true revelation, this uncanny relic defies understanding. So, basically, madness is... what's the word? Indiscernible from sanity. No. Madness is indiscernible from enlightenment to people who have experienced neither. And I think that's kind of what is going on with the Lamenter, in that normally, like, being cursed with all these horns and lamenting everything and like kind of being in torment would seem like an awful thing, but paradoxically the Lamenter seems to have embraced their torment, and once they embraced their torment, it becomes torment no longer, and they kind of become unchained to the earthly world. And so they have seemingly gone mad, but one of the paradoxical questions about that is, because they're no longer in like true torment, are they enlightened or are they truly mad? And I think for the people of the tower, they assumed that they were mad, and so that's why they chose to hide these folk away, because to anybody who's sane, like, it seems absolutely insane to embrace grief and find joy within it. So that's kind of my impression of what's going on with the Lamenter, which I think otherwise casts a pretty I don't want to say big shadow, I guess, but that's like the normal turn of phrase. So it just kind of like casts a shadow on the Hornsent and the lore in general, which is kind of ironic now that I said like it casts a shadow, because we've got like a lamenting visage, which casts light. But it is interesting that the Lamenter's eyes seem to have been gouged out, not like literally speaking, but like the horns are also growing through their eyes, so that might tie into their blindness. And we do have some other stuff pertaining to like covering the eyes, like the prisoner's mask. I don't think I have it on this character. Yeah, I think I need to buy it from a merchant, which I didn't. But like covering up the eyes can stew a spiritual fervor within somebody, and that'll like increase their will as well, which is kind of thematic to Elden Ring and all that. But hopefully that makes sense as to why the Hornsent folk would go out of the way to keep the Lamenters imprisoned, because it might have revealed a bit of a truth that they didn't want to face in terms of their relation to horns themselves. Hey Zafe, nice to see you. Yeah, I'm really interested in checking out a couple of your videos on stream sometime in the near future. Some of the people in my community have brought them up throughout your postings. You've been really on top of the content. It's pretty impressive. So if anything, I should be like what's the word, praising you for your output, because I mean, these streams are relatively easy to produce. It's just like you just turn on the game and go. But actually making like the long form content and like doing all the editing, it's a bit of a process. So appreciate the kind words. Do I have Briars of Sin? Good question. Let's check that out. I might. I do not. Yeah, I should have definitely prepped more for the DLC with this character than I did, but I just kind of mistimed things. Alright, Clownscum, you have a good night. And True Connoisseur, welcome on in. What'd you miss? So we did Charo's Hidden Grave and the what's it called? The Lamenter's Jail. We were just there, so you missed out on those. So yeah, Zafe, if there's any video you ever want me to react to on stream, or shit, if you want to like even be in a Discord call and like talk about something on video or like on a stream sometime, let me know. Like yeah, if you want to join my Discord, you could like message me there, or like add me as a friend on Discord and then like leave my server if you want, because I don't think like there's no like DMs on YouTube. I think my like YouTube email is like connected to my things, but anyway. No, such a thing is utterly inconceivable. We have not been abandoned. Mesmer is the son of Queen Marika. Her Grace would never abandon her own flesh and blood. So yeah, this is a kind of cool ghost because it is clearly a Black Knight. So I do enjoy that they went through the effort of differentiating the types of ghosts that we can interact with. Which there's a little bit of that in the base game too. Sounds good, Zafe. And yeah, welcome to the stream for sure. Nectarine was asking, since the Thorn Sorcerers had their eyes gouged out, which led to them contacting an outer god. Oh yeah, and then somebody had asked, oh, it was you. Did the Hornsent contact the Bloodstar? So that is a very good question. So there is a little bit of ambiguity as to whether or not like the Bloodstar is related to the Mother of Truth or anything like that. The funny thing is I talked a lot about getting the Shield of the Guilty when I was in Weeping Peninsula before the DLC became released. But then I forgot where it was, and I didn't go back to like look it up and get it. So to answer your question, I don't know if they contacted the Bloodstar specifically, but I do think they came into contact with the Mother of Truth, and that the Blood Fiends themselves were formerly Hornsent, which is kind of I don't want to say like explicit, because you have to read between the lines a little bit between two descriptions to kind of get the full picture. So let's check out the Outer God Heirloom. It says, it's a talisman engraved with the lore of an outer god. The clan who lost everything in the great fires peered upon the corpse of their ancestor, normally an act of sanctity, and saw in its shadow a twisted deity. The clan had suffered such torment that the horrible thing was taken as an object of worship. And this depicts a what's it called? The Hornsent tutelary deities. So the clan seems to be that of the Hornsent, is what I'm going to get with that. And then when we look at... No, I didn't pick up the ashes. It's the arm. When we look at the Hexer Spear... Okay. Nope, nope, nope. Not that one. I'm really bad at remembering like where some of these categories of weapons are in relation to the other. Wouldn't it be around here? Okay, here it is. The Blood Fiend's arm, it says, it's an arm pulled from the corpse of one of the Blood Fiend's kin and wielded as a makeshift weapon. Having been sanctified by a blood ritual, this armament is capable... No, this is not the weapon that I was thinking of. Damn it, what was the other one? It was the ashes, wasn't it? Yeah, it must be the Blood Fiend Hexer Ashes, which I didn't bother to get from that cave because I wanted to get other things first in the playthrough. So maybe I could go there. But the Blood Fiend Hexer's Ashes say that the Blood Fiends stumbled upon a twisted deity and they like came into contact with the Mother of Truth. And so that's when they became Blood Fiends. So if they were not originally Blood Fiends and they came upon like a shadowy, twisted deity or whatnot, then it makes the most sense to me that the corpse that they looked upon in the Blood Fiend Hexer Ashes is the same one mentioned in the Outer God Heirloom, although it's not explicit between either of these two descriptions. So I think whether or not the Mother of Truth is related to the Bloodstar, that might tie into the Thorn Sorceries inadvertently through the Inquisitors having the Golden Barb spell, which I do think I have that one now. Yeah, Golden Arcs. Sorcery of the Inquisitors of the Tower wielded as an incantation of the Spiral. A swing of the arm releases a procession of golden arcs. The arcs resemble barbs, a known symbol of coercive questioning. So apparently Alberic's armor set can buff not only the Briars of Sin, but they can also buff the Golden Arc sorceries. And so they're kind of like thorn sorceries in their own right, even though they are wielded as incantations. So there might be something different between the two groups. So I don't know if the Hornsent would have contacted the Mother of Truth, because I don't think most of them are blind except for like maybe the Lamenter. But yeah, I don't really know essentially, but it does seem like there really could be a tangible connection there that we just are kind of perpetually missing. Like there's just always that missing link to like make the full image clear, it seems. The duality of Pokemon's question or statements. Oh man, I miss Charo's hidden grave. Actually, never mind. I hated that area. It's kind of like perfect for like how that area actually is, because like when you go there, like, oh man, this is pretty. This area is awesome. And then like when you go through it, it's nothing. Just a death Rite Bird and a flame golem. Like two of the arguably like least interesting things in the DLC, and there's like no real lore to accompany it. When exactly during the Crusade did Marika flip the switch? Because you think Marika bait and switched the Hornsent with the Shadowlands healing? I don't know, because it seems like the Hornsent should have been aligned with Marika at the beginning of her order if she were to betray them. So it seems like the betrayal happened later. Or maybe there were two betrayals after all, whether it means like sealing the realm in shadow and then like the crusade that followed way later. But yeah, good questions. Leon says the Blood Fiends might be demi-humans, only they drop the ever-precious string. Or maybe demi-humans are Hornsent, or like vice versa. Nectarine says there's definitely themes of the most desperate people receiving revelations, just like the Frenzy Merchants. Yes, absolutely. Shibiri also had his eyes gouged out, and the Frenzied Flame took root there. Hokaman says, is the twisted deity not the same thing as the mother of truth, or are you just misinterpreting that line? No, I think that twisted deity is supposed to be the mother of truth, but I think the misrepresentation of it, if you want to call it that, is that at a surface level, when you look at the Outer God heirloom, it says that it depicts it's engraved with the lore of an Outer God. Because it shows the Hornsent tutelary deity, it could give off the impression that the deity is the Outer God referenced, but the thing is, like, the mother of truth is kind of like hiding itself, or like using the deity as a conduit to get into contact with the Hornsent. So we still don't actually have a depiction of the mother of truth itself, just a vessel for which it can interact with the Hornsent. Oh, you mean bait and switching the Crusaders? Let me reread your comment then. Okay, yeah, so you're saying the ghost suggests that Marika really bait and switched him with the Shadowlands healing. Yeah, that does seem to be the case, and I think she may have even like bait and switched Mesmer, because he ends up like cursing her toward the end. And I'll talk about that when we get to his like boss room too. Alrighty. So now all that has been said and done. I saw a really funny clip of this. Be wary of Rite. So it's pretty much the same note. So somebody like looked over here. They didn't see anything. Like they like did a really quick glance, and then they killed these dudes, and then this dude just like knocked him off the edge. It was pretty funny. Or wait, no, okay, I think I know what it was. I think he killed these dudes, that guy, and then he got pushed off by the next guy. I think that's what happened. I like this, how this dude's oblivious. I was trying to backstab, but I guess it's the same thing in effect. Mesmer Soldier Spear. And Festive Grease. Weapon used by the soldiers who serve Mesmer the Impaler. A great spear with a steel blade worn from use. Being made for overwhelming onslaughts, attack with this weapon can be charged to unleash consecutive strikes. I wonder if this is the same model as a lot of the random spears that we see throughout the lands between. Although I thought that was like the banished spear. I thought there's like another one aside from that. Kind of. Or maybe it's just specific to here because it looks like it's got like a broader head on it. Alright. So now to show off the true power of the blindfold of happiness. I think this dude might be scripted to just push even if he doesn't see anything though. Yeah, he has no idea what's going on. And the fact that the Lamenter lantern uses so little FP is just kind of crazy to me. The devs actually just gave us a for fun item. Alright. Hey, Antoine, nice to see you again. Coming up, what you wanted to discuss? The physical Tibia Mariner boats? Okay. Rip. So we get a commoner corpse here for once. And the main Gauche? I actually don't know how it's pronounced. I've only ever read it. Dagger with a large handguard, intended to be used in the left hand, thereby complementing a piercing sword or identical blade in the right to enable a distinctive style of fighting. Now somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you can power stance the main Gauche and a thrusting weapon in the right hand, similarly to the way that you can use a wakizashi and a katana duo, but I might be wrong about that. Pokemon is sad that we never got a clean version of Ike's spear. Yeah, nor a clean version of his armor. I know some people were wishing for something like that in the DLC. Oh no. Oh. That worked better than I anticipated. So we get red flesh mushroom. Alright. So that is that. I'm trying to remember like what is the most practical way to approach the next section, whether or not it's better to come from below or above. I think the archer gets pissed off if we go this way unless I use my lantern again, but I kind of don't want to do that. So I think for now got the old Black Knight strat for the Black Knights. Oh, okay. I was expecting that to be 2 hits. Another golden vow. I say another even though it said new because we can craft it. And now we get to the second depiction of a minor Erdtree in the Shadowlands. So, we talked about this when we saw the first minor Erdtree in what's it called? The Shadow Altus on the way to Rao base through that cave that has like the depiction of Marika and the 3 perfumers in it. So, in the base game, many people believed that these minor Erdtrees were cultivated from Erdtree seeds and therefore grew after the shattering. People might still feel that way, but if they do, they might want to try to reconcile whether or not Erdtree seeds were smuggled from the lands between after the shattering into the realm of shadow, and if that's how these 2 trees grew. But I'm of the opinion that all of the minor Erdtrees came from the Erdtree root specifically, and these super golden ones might be a little bit different. In the base game, I thought that these are more representative of Radagon's style of Erdtree as opposed to Godfrey, and the other minor Erdtrees that were not like this one were more like along the Godfrey style. But I don't know how well that works with the DLC. I think that idea is still tenable, but the addition of these here in the Shadowlands is very puzzling, I guess. Alright, so I'm not worried about that. And as we look at the minor Erdtree, we've got a bunch of not exactly horn-sent ghosts like praying into it, because I believe these dudes don't have horns on them. Is that a hat? What is that? What is this dude? Huh. I really wish I had the free can to look at this a bit better. Because if he has like a specific set of armor on, I don't think we get anything like it in the base game. Is that like a crown? Maybe he's supposed to be like a noble, so yeah. Maybe I should punch them to see what they wield. It's mild. Okay. So he's got a pauldron on the right arm. I'm really intrigued by this. Intrigued. I apologize. Right, Blessed Bone Shard plus Talisman of Lord's Bestowal. And I guess I don't like the to make the argument that maybe because we get like a Godfrey thing next to it, it's representative of like a Godfrey time. But anyway, Although I did kind of like argue something similarly to the base game with the Radagon Golden Order Fundamentalist seal outside of like this kind of Erdtree. But anyway, Talisman of Lord's Bestowal. A talisman depicting Godfrey, first Elden Lord, receiving the precious sap. Increases poise after using a flask of tears. The Lord accepted the sap stoically without any sign of wavering. No wonder Lord of the Erdtree casts a long shadow over the lands. So I double-checked the Japanese on that. That's pretty clear as far as this is concerned as the translations go. Some people were asking why it's a big deal that he accepted the sap stoically. And I think, as I've mentioned before on the streams, the idea is that the tears of the Erdtree, the sap of the Erdtree, is essentially the same kind of tears that's produced from the dead, which fill our crimson and cerulean flasks. So essentially, by accepting the sap of the Erdtree, you're consuming the dead, or like the life of people who died. And so it's a pretty macabre thing to do. Hey Captini, welcome back in. No such thing as a minor shadow tree. I mean, maybe the ceiling tree is kind of like that. So this brings us back to where we first walked in. We get the smithing stone, tier 8. You never noticed that enemy model? I kind of took it for granted. I know that in the specimen storeroom, whatever it's called, there's other kind of like shade type dudes that don't have horns. But I hadn't noticed like these ones had like goofy looking crowns on them. Yeah, I thought there was another Black Knight. What's going on? So I know there's like another Ash of War that kind of makes you invisible to enemies. I don't know if that's better or worse than the Lamenter's whale thing. They look like Dr. Disrespect with those mustaches. Do any cultures use some kind of crown ash dress item for fancy things? In Elden Ring, I mean, we do see some wandering nobles with crown-like things on them, I believe. Oh, you mean like in real life? Okay. I will admit that I'm not most familiar with real-life crown lore. Alright, we're visible now. Screw your banquet. Alright. Another golden vow. So, as we go into Mesmer's Keep, we can see the cool little braided design on the chairs here, which are distinct from what we see in the base game. I've wondered whether or not this braid knot type thing is meant to represent America, but I don't really know. And on Mesmer's seal itself, because Mesmer is the impaler, I looked into the impalement as far as like heraldry is concerned, and it says that in heraldry the symbol of the mother or the matrilineal side of the family is depicted on the right side of a crest or a herald, whereas the father side is depicted on the sinister or left side. So the dexter side also represents like marriage, so the flame thing could be married into the braided thing, which I guess you might be able to say like the braid could represent the bit of hair that's, what's her face, Renala cut off and gave to Rolana. So maybe this sigil depicts Mesmer and Rolana's marriage, depending on that Japanese description of Moonrithil's Night Sword. in that rather than just being Rolana's chamberlain or royal attendant, it could be understood as like bridesmaid, essentially. So, yeah, for the longest time, I thought the braid was America. Which, I mean, to me, it still kind of makes more sense that it would be America type thing, because we don't see this in Castle Ensis, I believe. Although we do see a lot of the Mesmer crest in general there as well. And this, obviously, a bunch of the same banners. Maybe I should like double check Castle Ensis to see if they have chairs like that, but maybe not. So, whoops, I fell down. I felt like this should have been a spot for an ulcerated tree spirit, but then they like pulled it back. The cowards. So yeah, that's not too important, but you know, can't leave a smithing stone unturned. Pigsy says, the sealing tree is a thing and is burned to unseal. Does the Erdtree seal Faerûn and the Shadow Tree seal the land of Shadow? That's a good question. It seems like it could be that way. One of the things that I was talking about on one of the more recent streams that bothers me is it's really unclear like when canonically we go to the Shadowlands, because there's multiple times that we're kind of called like Lord of the Old Order or like Lord of the Erdtree and whatnot. So it seems like it should happen after we've already completed the base game. Which, does that imply that the Erdtree has already been burned? But if so, it really sucks that you can access the DLC before even burning the Erdtree with Mohg. And I was saying it kind of makes the most sense to me that maybe Miquella was only truly able to enter the Shadowlands once we burn the Erdtree, and that's why his plans have only started to take off now of all times. But that doesn't really mesh super well with the gameplay that we actually get. Elden says, why does the new Blessed Dew talisman state blue sap dripped from the Erdtree? Well, to be fair, we still get blue sap in the form of the flasks of cerulean crimson tears. So, let me pull that up for you. This one restores HP, obviously, whereas this just restores FP, so that's kind of the difference. Blue luminescent sap. So there might be different types of sap, I guess, but I could double check the Japanese, but I doubt it would be different. Or like, you know, substantially different. Elden says, maybe Miquella assumes you're going for the default age of fracture. Well, like, if we're already the Lord of the Land, then we should have already chosen an ending, which is like, what if you chose the Frenzied Flame ending? Maybe it's been confirmed to not be canonical at this point. And then, yeah, Stella says, go with the DS1 DLC logic. It's time travel. It certainly would be nice, except for the fact that Miyazaki told us that that's not the case. So get wrecked. Oh, yeah, I meant to talk to Letta and Hornsent, which we can still do before we fight Mesmer, and we'll be fine. So, now we get to the type of, like, Tibia Mariner-esque boats. I don't think these are... Maybe they are Tibia Mariner boats. I should double check. I keep forgetting to do stuff like that. And for some reason, we... Oh, man. We, have a bunch of vulgar militiamen here. Oh, he can grab me in the air. That's kind of cool, though. Alright, now I don't feel as guilty for smacking them down like this. After he did some stuff like that to me. So, if this is a Tibia Mariner style boat, it shows that death might be burned by Mesmer, because we've got the big old sigil of like the impalement type thing going on here. It's non-destructible. That's interesting. And obviously, the boat itself is filled with ashes. And so maybe this is meant to guide the dead, since the people of the Shadowlands don't exactly have the Erdtree proper to rely on. I don't know, though. Pixie said, some people think this church is the Helfen? Guess there's nothing really red on it. I don't have like the free cam to zoom out fully or to like a way to pull back the field of view, unfortunately. But that's an interesting idea. I would need to entertain it a bit more. Cries in the Age of Dark, Dark Souls 1 ending. Oh, I just tried to like shield instead of ease me belly. Wait, why did that one shot as, but the jumping attacks didn't? Okay, that makes more sense. Maybe that dude just had less HP. Alright, so now we've got our shortcut unlocked. And these doors are kind of reminiscent of what you see in Fair Missoula, although they are different. They're not like green. I think these ones might show up in Raya Lucaria more specifically, maybe not. I don't remember. Fungus can cause blue sap in real life. Get Zyostorm on the phone. All right. You think you can call us the Lord of the Old Order when that is just our goal? It doesn't work super well, but maybe well enough. Elden thinks that the sap is just golden glintstone. Dylan says, with so many fundamentally different endings, how on earth would FromSoft deal with a sequel? Is there a common thread to all endings? Something to do with death, maybe? Most of the endings are endings, as I call them. So you mend the Elden Ring, essentially. But yeah. That's kind of like what they did with Dark Souls. So the Dark Souls kind of handled it somewhat elegantly with what they ended up doing with Solaire. Well, I mean, I take it back. They really don't handle it elegantly in a pure duelist game sense. But Miyazaki kind of helped nudge things in a good direction with some supplementary information in an interview where he says that even if like the player doesn't link, Solaire can like link the flame in his own world. So I like that idea of kind of curious if that works. Not when he's already locked on. Okay. I like the idea of multiple world protagonists having enough agency where that can kind of like write the timeline, even if like you choose the Dark Lord ending. Because Dark Lord ending means walking away from the flame. That doesn't necessarily stop anybody else from linking it, so that kind of made a lot of sense to me. Whereas I feel like the endings of Elden Ring might not present that same kind of opportunity. So like it's not like you walk away from mending the Elden Ring if you become the Lord of Frenzied Flame. Quite the opposite, in fact. You make it so that nobody would be able to mend it, potentially. But I guess it would most likely make the Age of Fracture the quote-unquote canonical one. So I'm not going to rest yet, so that way I don't have to fight more enemies. Now we're going to head to Midra's Manse. Oh, wait, the church in the water is the Helfen? We get a Rata fruit, which is kind of random, and the Shadow Militiaman Helm. Wonder how that looks with this armor set. Helm as dark as shadow, worn by vulgar militiamen. Freshly singed battlegrounds effusing with the stench of the dead. Forbidden lands that will be excised from the memory of history. What better place than the realm of shadow, then, for such an army? So this is our VD cosplay item. So Final Fantasy IX reference. Too bad you can't wear like a cool wizard hat on top of it. Best DLC helm. The glowing eyes look cool. Yeah, it's the what are they called? Oh my god, the Tusken Raider almost type things. No, that's not it. There's another glowing eyed thing in Star Wars that I'm blanking on. Alright, Smithing Stone 8. What did it eat? And silver pickled fowl foot. Alright, so that pretty much clears out the front part of the Shadow Keep. Now we get to go down. I love the hidden waterfall. Secrets. It's probably one of my favorite RPG tropes. Somber smithing stone, and I don't think there's an item over there, but I just want to double check. Yep, okay. Yeah, so I was hitting all these walls. It took me a really long time to find Midra's Manse, and I only really found it pretty much after I was done exploring everywhere else in the DLC. I was like, okay, I give up, because how the hell do you get down to the Abyssal Woods? And then kind of figured things out from a convo with a friend. Because I got jebaited. I walked in here, I'm like, oh, a painting, okay. Domain of Dragons painting. And then I walked out. Because it didn't seem like there was anything else. But why is this wall so conspicuous? Like, honestly, I think this is a pretty good disguise for it. You can kind of make the outline of a doorway, but it is extremely faint. And what I mean like by kind of, so if you look like by the compass right now, you can see like a little bit of a tiny arc, but like on the wall, it looks pretty natural. So I've got mixed feelings about these kind of secrets. Because that one just seems a bit random. And there's not like a lot of a reason to check that. There'll be nothing over here. And so, yep. Now that we've done that, we get a cool little coffin ride. Alright. Alright, thank you, Greyard. They are the Jawas. I knew it was like a short name like that, but the only thing that was popping into my mind was Ewok, and I'm like, that is definitely not it. So, thank you. Appreciate it. And so, who just asked it? Enter Y was asking, are the militiamen basically working for America and the Golden Order? Oh, I think definitely so. At the very least, it seems like they had some affiliation with Malekith in the base game. So maybe the Shadow Militiamen are just more America aligned? But I don't know. Manse is the last area that Dylan got to. The paintings are pretty fun puzzles. Yeah. So speaking of the paintings, I was going to go ahead and warp back to the Jagged Peak area to get that last painting that we didn't have access to on the last stream. Oh, I went too far forward, I think. Maybe this one's too far back. It's like it feels like there's an awkward part where there should have been like one between here and here. So maybe this is the right spot after all. Pokemon found the wall. You explored the entire area and left the catacomb for later. Elden was hoping for mimic bonfires as chests. Everybody says they want mimic bonfires until they actually get a mimic bonfire. Yeah. I think DS2 is the closest that they came to it, with Aldia popping out and scaring the hell out of people. Which Aldia definitely got me once, even though I kind of knew what he was supposed to be doing. So going right. So when you get to the right spot in this area... Did I just get myself stuck? So I can't dismount. Okay, I can. That was close. That was unintended. Zoink Scoob. Anyway. Elden Enthusiast, you said you were leaving. You have a good night, but I see you're still around a little bit. They should have had Mikola explode Graces and jump scare us for exposition then. I was almost going to joke, what, exposition in a FromSoft game, but that is literally exactly what Aldia does, huh? He is the exposition guy. Randomized mimic bonfires would be great. So, like, what happens after you beat them? You actually get the real bonfire? It sucks because there's no shadow tree as a reference to get the angle you need for the painting. I felt like I didn't need to come up here, and I just connected back down after falling down. Uh-oh. That's too far. That's not far enough. Classic torrent. Oh no, that was definitely my fault. I should have angled myself better the first time I fell off, and then obviously this one was just a silly jump. I think it was too far of a fall regardless. And for that, I will blame, like, how the game is a little bit deceptive with how far you can fall. Like, I think Zoli had the video where it shows that there's actual consistent rules to it, but it just feels woefully inconsistent. It's kind of hard to judge distance, or maybe not distance, but like height in this game. It's like that. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad from a glance, but from a different angle, I'm like, I take it back. Okay, so this is what I did. Here it is. So this guy magically... Where's our guy? Okay, that was awkward. So the sky magically clears up, and then we get to see our painter guy do his thing. And then it goes away after a bit. Which... I did definitely not find this naturally in my first playthrough. So kudos to whoever did, because this is just kind of ridiculous with all the cloud coverage, because you can't see the shadow tree. And which really sucks, because like this is probably one of the actual prettiest advantages of it in the entire game with the skybox the way that it is. Of course, it doesn't help, like the telescope isn't the best, so let's do the old reliable. Yeah. I think this just looks really cool. This actually gives us a pretty good vantage of the kooky thorns coming off of that side, because you don't really get to see it from this angle, which is unfortunate. You can definitely see that the little arc thing doesn't match up to the shadow tree at all. So anyway, that was the Domain of Dragons painting, which is a big hint, and the rock heart. Heart consumed in the ancient original form of dragon communion. Used while disrobed to turn one's human flesh into an ancient dragon. The change cannot be undone except by death. Using this heart while already transformed temporarily boosts dragon communion incantations. The last thing the partaker saw with human eyes was a sunset. Its colors faded and tarnished, a remote thing from eternity. So I talked about this briefly on the last stream because we were doing like all the dragon stuff and I couldn't remember the difference between the priestess heart and the rock heart. So, this isn't entirely that different in the Japanese, but I think the target of the word, anyway, I think there's a slight difference in nuance in the interpretation that one can come to in the English. So it sounds like, no, let me try to rephrase this. If you take this a bit too, it's not too literal. If you narrow too much on the focus of the sunset, you might think of like literally the sun and the light coming from the sun alone as the focus of the sunset being colored, like its colors faded and being tarnished. Whereas it's a bit more clear in the Japanese that it means the totality of the sunset. So not only the sun and its light, but also the surrounding vantage, I guess. So anyway, long story short, it's not just the sun and its colors which are washed away. It's everything that gets washed away that the partakers saw with their human eyes. So we were talking about how the ancient dragons, Placidusax... Hold on, let me rephrase that. So Placidusax and the ancient dragons seem to have lacked the kind of specific yearning that would allow them to kill Baal, which is a little bit weird to me. And they needed humans to finish the job, which I don't really understand that. But I think that might kind of get corroborated with the idea that once you've reached like the apex of life, you've become so infused with gold, all of your desires have been sated from like consuming all of the dragon stuff, then maybe you just kind of like life loses its luster, so to speak, and you become tarnished. And that might kind of happen to Godfrey in a way too. But like I don't think he like partook in dragon communion, although that idea would be super awesome. That once you get to the pinnacle, like once you climb to the top of the mountain, there's no more mountains to climb. Like you can't go any higher. You're already pulled over. So that's just kind of my takeaway on this description, which kind of had me scratching my head the first time I read it. Elden doesn't feel like leaving yet. Does the fall death cam glitch at the Grank area still work? I don't know. I don't think I've ever done that. You never understood why this Scooby-Doo tree has that white fog at the top of its branches? So even the actual Erdtree has the same kind of thing going on, although it's really hard to see because you don't really get to pan your camera up that high, and it has a lot of other branches getting in the way of that. So I think we can go ahead and show that off. At the very least, you might be right that it's not quite as silvery, but there are silver veins within the Erdtree itself that are worth considering. So I have wondered whether or not the silvery things over there are supposed to be the actual roots of the Erdtree, and if these things are upside down, but I don't really have strong feelings about that. Because the shadow tree does seem to be more like branchy at the top rather than like rooty. That's a weird way to say it. Rooty tooty. Okay. So hopefully it doesn't rain here, because this might be the better spot to show it off if we can. This is not the best spot. It's morning. So part of the reason why I didn't try to reload is because, oh damn it, maybe you can't see it so much when the Erdtree is burning. I don't think I can even get my camera that high after all. So I was trying to say a moment ago that you can't really change the weather in Dominula, it seems. Like, it'll always start raining when you come to this section of the place. Did I really not get any of the Sites of Grace over there? That sucks. So I don't have the best vantage of it. But we do have an Erdtree gazing hill. Yeah, the Erdtree's too burny to show it off. And I'm not so sure how well you'd see it anyway. Yeah, because it's like way higher than this even. You need to be really far away and pretty high up to get it. Erdtree's also just brighter and glowy in general. True. And because it's glowy, it's pretty easy to not look at the top of it. Okay, this might be better. But probably won't matter if it's all burning. Yeah, okay. Now that we've burned the Erdtree, it probably doesn't work, but it would be pretty much at the top of the screen. Maybe not. It might be even higher than that. Which is why I really wish that they had like a photo mode for the game. Because, like, how the hell is anybody else supposed to like see that detail without modding their system? It just kind of encourages mods. What? Oh, this was the... I thought he was further down. So this is the worm face larval tier guy. I didn't realize he came from an exploding corpse though. I'm surprised that attack doesn't deathblade us. And so the worms that come out of the worm face, the worm faces, are kind of also used in some of Metter's attacks. And that's made me wonder if like the worm things are actually supposed to be super infant two fingers, which sounds ridiculous on the face of it, but I can't help but wonder. And it's probably just a case of asset reuse. But when has that ever been fun for lore hunting? So we got a larval tier. Right. So my apologies, that didn't work out quite as well as I would have hoped. What were we doing? Oh yeah, we got the rock heart, so now we can go back to the ruins of Auntie. It reminds you of the Duskborn Fog? Yeah, the Shadow Tree, for sure. So let's go ahead and use the Lamenter thing and the rock heart. I actually don't know if you can use... if you can, like, overwrite your transformations. So some people wonder if this is Ghost Flame. It seems like we get a lot more vitality. What's it say? It gives us... I do wish that it gave us like less flavor text. Or maybe not like less flavor text, but like more of like an explanation as to what the hell it actually changes when you wear it. Because it's very unclear whether or not the trade-off of having like all that armor is worth the transformation, essentially. So we'll use it again. I don't know how effective that move is, to be honest. It might be really good against some enemies. So now we are a full-on Lamenter. So as we look at the Lamenter, it seems like we have reddish hair on us. Kind of reminds me of the Leonine Misbegotten almost, but some people have wondered if they are related to like the fire giants. And some people think that the Lamenter's back in particular kind of looks fire giant-esque. I think that might just be a bit of a coincidence, to be honest. But if it did have eyes, it seems like more horns would be going out of where it was. But some people think that's a nose. It definitely looks like a nose. I'm not trying to deny that. And like the shoulder blades definitely don't do it any favors in making it look less like a face. But we don't really have a mouth to truly accompany it. So I think that just might be a bit of pareidolia, or however it's pronounced. So we got a good old Moog situation going on, and we do kind of look like Morgott as well. And so these horns are pretty similar to the Omen horns. So this is like the kind of first horn scent model that we see, which doesn't look like the traditional horn set, and it ends up looking a bit more like an Omen, all things considered. Let's see if we got any cool foot lore. It looks like we only have 3 toes, plus like the dew claw type thing. That's interesting. So that might be an argument of like de-evolution. Kind of reminds me of like the Scourge Beast, or not Scourge Beast, but the Beast Possessed Soul transformation in Bloodborne. Alright. Captini says, if the timeline is supposed to be after burning the Erdtree, should there be a hint of embers or something if the trees were connected? So, for what it's worth, I do think that... I don't have the death root description. I do think that the Erdtree was disconnected from its roots after the shattering, so that might be able to explain that discontinuity if you were questioning that. Elden should record footage of Dung Eater getting death blighted by the crab near Balgert. Captini says it does look like a nose. Yeah, I think it looks like a nose, but I don't think anything else works super well for it. So I think it's just kind of like one of those goofy coincidences. Like, to focus in on the nose might just be like overlooking how weird everything else looks, like the kneecaps and the thighs. Anyway, let's see if we can use the dragon heart. Nope, or the rock heart. So we'll need to die. How many runes do I have? Like 1,000? 4,900. I'm curious to see if that gets undone by the Memory of Grace. I kind of assumed that it wouldn't, but I've never tried this. Okay, kind of what I expected. So as we come here, we see a bunch of destroyed furnaces, which is super cool to me that the ruins of Auntie had such a successful resistance against the forces of Mesmer. Because there are a ton of furnace golems, like more furnace golems here than what we saw Siege Beliarat in the story trailer. So maybe one could make the argument that this is just like the dumping grounds of Mesmer's forces. Anyway, let's go ahead and get Guts. But if they are the dumping grounds, then it is kind of noteworthy that there's still some active furnace golems down here. So it doesn't seem like there would be. Just got 2 shot. So that'll be a good reminder to put on my flame resistance talisman. So we did the Oswald of Kareem pose a second ago. And I don't know how the Dragon Man transformation differs from the priestess one. I definitely like the priestess one a bit more. We got some Shrek donkey ass looking smile going on here. Alright. So can we use this again? Apparently this buffs us? Huh, I'm curious about that. Like how long it lasts and whatnot. Seems to be lasting a pretty good time though, all things considered. But you know the trick of the fire pots, they're easy. Maybe they figured it out. Hollow eyes makes the smile a bit creepy. Maybe that's the last. Maybe that's the reason why the sunset was the last thing the dude saw with human eyes. Maybe he lost his eyes. But I don't know. We see that the other dragons have eyes, so I don't think it's like fully a dragon thing. I'm gonna get hurt for that. So that was only 2/3 of Torrent's health. I need to scratch my face. Expecting a big explosion? Yeah. My move got buffered. I was not trying to... Oh, and there was my jump. Oh, that was lucky. Come on. It's annoying when you press the button and then absolutely nothing happens. Oh. We're gonna YOLO it. YOLO'd a little bit too hard. YOLO'd too much. So because that was the shoe that we hit, he will face that way when he falls. Come on. There we go. Okay, so it'll only take 2 times to kill it. When I did it without blessings, it definitely took 3 knockdowns to kill him fully. Which, you know, that was fun. Uh-oh. Sorry, Torrance. Sorry, life. I was trying to just... Oh, he wasn't... Oh, I was going to say he's not a rock dragon. But that's also because I'd already died. I was just trying to summon him, so that way it kind of made sense to heal myself just for Torrent. Which reminds me... I'll take this off and put on these spirit raisin just to see... if that actually heals Torrent? It's too dark to tell. Okay. Yeah, I agree, Dylan, that the furnace golems are not really fun after killing like 2 of them. Like the first time, it felt like a challenging enough boss, a little bit tedious. Actually, I wasn't even sure if I was doing the right thing until, like, the Tower Knight thing happened. That sucks. I was afraid he was going to kick me off again. So that did not heal me. Oh, he's stomping again. I hate that. That's the move. Where, like, one is immediately after the other. So unless you actually see it happen and you're not buffering a move. Maybe this wouldn't be as bad if they didn't have, like, the gigantic explosion. The one where they, like, both their feet go on fire. Because that just makes it feel like I kind of need Torrent to get away. And back in. Oh, damn it. So stupid. And then that was just purely buffered. I jumped early? Okay. Thought so. Now we can go to this side. Zoink Scoob. You liked fighting the furnace golems better with your astrologer? Well-timed barrages of shard speller can tear them up and break apart their poise pretty quickly. Yeah, it doesn't help that I'm just using this colossal weapon. Because apparently the way that their posture works is completely different from the posture of every other enemy in the game. In that it's... Oh no. It's based entirely on the amount of hits that you do rather than the posture damage you do. Or so I've been told. Uh-oh, uh-oh. I was a little bit lucky. Don't kick me, bro. I don't want to get too off to the side on him. Hopefully this is it. There we go. This is almost like fighting Yorm without using the what's it called? The Storm Ruler weapon. And for that we get the oil soaked tier, which I have no idea if this is good or not. Coats nearby enemies in oil. Oil soaked enemies are highly susceptible to fire damage. So like maybe that's really good for a fire weapon like the Godslayer Greatsword. But one of the issues is that like the physic buffs are like relatively short timed. Like maybe 30 seconds tends to be the larger limit on them. And there tend to be better options than that. So like I like that a lot as an idea, but it's just not entirely worth. Alright, Elden, good night for real yourself. Yeah, you take care. Oh, and for that, we only got 14,000 runes. It's, laughably small. Ruin Shaduvatar? Shaduvatar? Shadovatar? Alright. So does anybody remember if the golem outside the gate also drops a tier or not? Alright, so anyway, we get a Ember of Mesmer right here. So the way that I did this was because I didn't realize that you could start a stopped golem by putting fire in its gullet. I did not anticipate that at all. I actually parkoured my way into the place, believe it or not. So that was one of the horn set that has like the hoods on. So I don't think he has horns. I should double check some of the other ones around here. Yeah, so we will find dudes like this in the Ailing Fly Village. I think they cast hexes of some sort. Maybe the Blood Flame stuff. I should see. So this will take us up to where we can throw the fire pot into our guy. Get some Lost Ashes of War for once in the DLC. Alright, so try throwing and then likely fire. It's a pretty good one. If you try to parkour in, you just immediately get knocked out. The funny thing is you can see the corpse of a drake in the furnace golem right there. Which is kind of a nifty little detail, along with how a horse sticks out of their right foot. Right. So the way that I parkoured my way into the village was by doing one of these. What is this? So apparently the altar of darkness and light can change depending on where you pick up the sword. So I've had a friend come here first, and that's where he got the sword. And so it wasn't covered with this black goopy crap. And as I said before, I think this kind of resembles the ruins of that we can see behind the finger whistles in the finger ruins. So raise the stone sheathed sword to the dark? Sure. Actually, let's read it before I do that. Wait, where is it? Oh, there it is. A sword that none can pull from its scabbard of cracked stone. Relic of a lost civilization from a time long past, and said to have served a ritual purpose at altars of light and darkness. And the skill is square off. Let's check out what that actually looks like. So if I shield... Yeah, so it's just fully a scabbard. I actually haven't looked at this closely in the with the camera mod, so I don't know if there's any repeated designs on the scabbard itself. Let's go into a light, well-lit area. Not particularly. Yeah, another ancient civilization. At least, like, we have this showing up at the Rao ruins and some catacombs, but I guess that kind of raises more questions as to whether or not the catacombs are related to the Rao or not. So, raise the stone-sheathed sword to the dark. Sword of Darkness. So now we are unequipped, obviously. Sword of Darkness pulled from its stone scabbard at an altar. From the quick of the root, wandering coils of darkness coalesce and release, their eddies and vortices giving form to the dark blade. Unique skill, Darkness. Raise the sword aloft and cleave surroundings with darkness. Deals holy damage and temporarily reduces holy damage negation. So somebody's asking what kind of weapon that they wanted to use in the DLC, and they're using like a Faith Arcane build. The Sword of Light or Darkness might be a good choice as well. So let's see what this puppy can do. It kind of reminds me of the putrescence vortex thing that it can do, but this is obviously different. So let's really see what this baby can do. Oh no, it's running. Hell yeah, what an amazing job. Now this would probably be better to show off in a place like the Rot View balcony area. So I know some people try to like make spoofed weapons with the cut content items, and the Sword of Darkness, I don't remember what cut content it corresponded to, but this was like kind of hidden in the base game files because it wasn't in the full release of the game. So aside from the Sword of Darkness, we can get Giant Golden Arc, which suggests then that perhaps the altars are related to the horn scent, but then of course we have like the runes of Rao to throw a wrench into things. Sorcery of the Inquisitors of the Tower, wielded as an incantation of the Spiral. A swing of the arm releases a giant golden arc. The arc resembles the barb, a known symbol of coercive questioning, which is pretty much exactly the same as the other arc sorcery that we got, although this one is giant. It goes to 11. Right, so that's it for the ruins of Unte, however it's supposed to be pronounced. I like to say Auntie just because it's silly. And it's easy to remember that way. Oh, so they can cast Spira. That's annoying. So, on their staffs, it kind of looks like there's a snake coiled around it. He hit me. It's kind of hard to show off, but like the... there we go. Oh, that's super cool. That it can actually use a Rancor thing. I wish I took footage of that. For when I was talking about the horn scent being related to hexes and whatnot. Did that look like runes coming out of it almost for a second? Or not like, well, not runes in the figurative sense, but in like the literal sense, like Cypher Pata type runes. Could have been a trick of the eye. So we've got another horn scent without horns. Speaking of without horns, it's been a while since we've seen that fellow. No, maybe not. Maybe it's just the extra particles looking like that. Hey Jack Irish, nice to see you again. Yeah, I think it's just the particle effect. Anyway, I do really like this spiral incantation symbol. I kind of wish it was related to the fingers. I thought that was a possibility before we like really saw what it was, but I don't know. More horn scent graves. So yeah, it is interesting that these dudes in particular don't have horns. I don't entirely know why they wouldn't. Other than perhaps not all horn scent had horns, which go figure. Alright. Like a techno beat? Alright, Vord. What we've been talking about. So far on the stream, we've done everything with the Lamenter, Charo's Hidden Grave, and then we came through the front part of the Shadow Keep, down over here to visit the ruins of Unt. So does anybody remember if this dude does drop any tears? Oh, blood-sucking one? You know what? I just don't want to fight a damn furnace golem. That's a cool one, but I'm never going to use it on this playthrough, let's be real. Thank you, though. I appreciate that, Greyard. It'd be cool if FromSoft had more Shadow of the Colossus / Dragon Dogma style enemies you could climb on and interact with a bit more. Yeah, I agree. It does get kind of old dealing with the old traditional Tower Knight strat. Especially when it's reused so much in the DLC. It's cool if it's done like once, maybe twice as a gimmick. But it does tend to overstay its welcome. Dylan says, what is darkness? It feels like we don't get much darkness like that in the base game. That's a really good question. I don't think I have a really good answer for it, unfortunately. The only thing I can really say is that the fingers do kind of have a connection to darkness in like Assassin's Approach and the Darkness Incantation, but that's pretty much it. So to give like a bit of a more tangible answer, so like what is darkness? It could be part of like relating to the primeval current in a way, or just like the lightless void. And so like it's graceless, and that might tie into the occlusion irises as well. And yeah, as we come down the river, we will eventually find a bunch of manflies and a couple of grave birds, but not like a ton of real lore here. Which is going to be like a pretty consistent theme for a lot of the areas, unfortunately. Didn't it die? That's goofy. Alright. It's really weird that the Inquisitors teleport like Radagon. Oh, because of Yori? I never thought about that, the fact that it actually teleports. Let me think if we have other teleporting things. Well, we do have the Lamenter kind of teleporting in a way. The Curse Blades can kind of like go into darkness and teleport a little bit. Jack's using a strength build, but you're using the Great Katana. Your arcane's so high, so you get insane bleed. Oh, does bleed chance also scale with arcane? That's pretty decent. Then. Hey, Core, nice to see you. The spear definitely looks like the Godslayer Greatsword. Yeah, I have wondered if there's been meant to have been a connection with that as well, but it would have been nice if the Hornsent had more like flame incantations or something to just build upon that idea. The community threw too much shade at the gimmick bosses. So here's the thing, like I wouldn't really mind if we had more gimmick bosses in the vein of like Legend of Zelda boss design, but you know, like with the FromSoft spin on it. Because I think now, and I feel like many more people are coming around to the idea that FromSoft might be like starting to overstay their welcome with the current formula of like combat and boss design. I think Sekiro did combat a lot better than Elden Ring for like actual one-on-one encounters, whereas Elden Ring does a much better job of it did a much better job of allowing the players freedom of choice in their build options and the way they wanted to approach combat, with the exception of like wall bosses that invalidate some builds, like Millennia and Radon more specifically. But yeah, so hopefully the next game will be a breath of fresh air if they do continue the Soulsborne style, which I mean, they'd kind of be crazy not to. So obviously there is also Armored Core to offer people something completely different. The spiral incantations rotate counterclockwise, but shard spiral sorcery rotates clockwise. That's an interesting observation, and that might be just to help differentiate the two. Jack's currently level 210. Are you in the base game, or are you like in New Game Plus or anything like that? Stella says like puzzle bosses, a little bit. Like there can be like good gimmick bosses as well as like bad ones. I mean, I'm not advocating that they add in like bad gimmick bosses, don't get me wrong. So like for instance, I would say phase 1 Renala is definitely a gimmick boss, which is perhaps a little bit too easy with the way that it got implemented. But I think overall, like, yeah, maybe it's just like a bit of a tall order. So to me, like one of the quintessential gimmick bosses in like a Zelda game would be like the what are they called? I don't know what they're actually called, but they're kind of like super armored caterpillar / worm type enemies where their only vulnerable spot is their tail, and so they like kind of move around. And you kind of have similar stuff going on with that in certain enemies in like Tower Knight and whatnot. But I think Elden Ring and FromSoft games need to do a better job of allowing more ranged options being like accessible to every build, or hybridizing combat for both ranged and melee play, which sounds like absolutely impossible on paper, especially after you've played so many FromSoft games specifically. And I would honestly point to Lords of the Fallen with their last game as an example of how it can be implemented fairly successfully, because you automatically get like your ranged option at the beginning of the game. Oh, I hit both of them. And you get more ranged options as you go. And of course, certain builds can build into the range playstyle a bit better than others, but it's just kind of always available. And if FromSoft had that kind of system going on where you always had something ranged on you, they might be able to have like more ranged gimmicks. So like not like tests of archery, but like the same principle. Like if you have to hit like a crit spot, or like break the jars to kill like the chariots in the catacombs, would be like one method of doing that kind of thing. Like more environmental stuff along with the base combat. And of course, that's just like one type of idea, and there are other gimmicks that they could do. So like, I think the Zelda games are probably like, generally speaking, the best gimmicky type bosses that are available for like these types of ARPGs. But I think even Metroid Prime games weren't entirely just like shoot 'em ups, and they also had a couple gimmicks here and there. So things more like the Adjudicator, but better. All right, Jack's on New Game Plus. Oh yeah, so this is the dried leaf seal, which we can see on Dane's set. If you infuse a weapon with bleed and it has good strength scaling already, you take a fairly minor loss in physical damage for a crap ton of bleed build up with high arcane. Yeah, I know the new Bloodfiend arm is actually extremely good for that, especially if you blood infuse it. Excuse me. Because it doesn't list the passive effect of being able to bleed, but when you spray the blood with the strong attack, it actually can proc it. So if you infuse bleed on it already, you can bleed some enemies with 1 or 2 attacks with it. Which, I wonder if you could use the Blood Flame hex on it to increase the blood buildup that you do with it even further. That'd be amazing. Thanks, Vorb. I did know that the death birds are called death birds because they want to kill you to death. Yes. That is canonically true. Dropping pots onto Jabba the Hutt in Dark Souls 2? Yeah. The Great Katana has 130 blood loss? Oh yeah, that's a really high number. So as we come up here, we're going to have a bunch of Miranda flowers, but if I recall correctly, there's no reason to fight them whatsoever. Except for if you really want runes from these things specifically, which, why? So we get a random ass coffin over here, which gives us another Skidoo fragment, which now I think we'll have enough to level up. Although I may have already had enough to level up, who knows? Oh, I didn't realize it was this late. I'm like yawning. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of tired. Oh, that explains why I'm a little bit tired, huh? No idea how much bleed the charge R2 does when it's not infused with bleed on average. Greyard's glad they added another seal that's just another way to make the golden frisbee stronger. I should read it. Where am I trying to go? This way? Okay, I didn't go all the way down. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So this is kind of one of the funniest spots in the game because if you are doing a no fast travel playthrough, you've just hit a point of no return. You can't get back up, I don't believe. Or maybe you can with some very clever parkour. But then, yeah, you will more or less essentially have to go to Midra's Manse or die to go back. And so we finally hear some real jingling and have a reddish scarab, which means it's going to have just like upgrade materials, I think. Somber smithing stone tier 8. And we get to my favorite mausoleum enemy with the Eastern Nameless Mausoleum. Rakshasa. So, part of the reason why I really like this enemy isn't necessarily because it's like super cool for FromSoft standards, but I just really like the mythology of the Rakshasa in general, which is a kind of real-life Hindu type demon, which is kind of like the Shura talked about in Sekiro, where they just kind of get overcome with bloodlust and go on rampages. But there's also like the visual design of like a Rakshasa in Hinduism is pretty cool. It's part of why I like them. And this dude still does damage, huh? Even with all these blessings. I was trying to interrupt it. Oh Lord, it's coming! So yeah, this dude has another great katana, and that ability is the thing that they can spam ad nauseum. But I can also spam ad nauseum. Bonk. $90 grand. So we get Rakshasa's great katana, Rakshasa helm, armor, gauntlets, and greaves. So Rakshasa's great katana is a great katana with the tempering pattern of its blade forever stained red with blood. Weapon of Rakshasa who cuts down and devours. A berserker's weapon used to endure enemy attacks and reply with one's full fury. When attacking, the wielder is less likely to stagger from counterattacks, but will also take increased damage. Unique skill, Weed Cutter. Perform scythe-like horizontal swings with the sword, cutting men down as if they were weeds. Additional inputs allow for the continuation of the attack for as long as stamina remains. So, honestly, the weapon skill isn't as cool as it sounds. I was wondering if this is supposed to be like an inversion of Kusanagi, which is like grass cutter, but no, this is a completely different thing apparently. So, if anybody was just familiar with Kusanagi and was wondering, it is different. And this gives 55 blood loss buildup. I'm assuming you can't change its skill if it's unique, so that's kind of unfortunate that you can't infuse it with bleed further then. But Rakshasa Helm. Helm of Rakshasa soaked in the spurting blood of her victims. Tatters of ragged cloth jut out haphazardly as if her lust for carnage threatens to break free. Increases damage dealt to foes, but greatly increases damage taken by the wearer. Cut down and devour. Only those who repeat the cycle without rest can truly subvert the self and become Rakshasa. So this is kind of the same type of principle that's going on with Okina in the Okina mask, where the sense of self gets dissolved as they pour themselves into their art. So they lose their ego, they obtain ego death, and essentially become the equivalent of demons for following a profane path, literally and figuratively. So it is cool that this armor set increases damage dealt to foes. I don't know how heavy it is, so maybe it'd be pretty good for like a rune level 1 or something, but that would be one hell of a while to get this weapons or this armor set specifically for RL1. Anyway, Dry Leaf Seal. Sacred seal of the spiritual seekers known as the Dryleaf sect. Enhances incantations which conjure golden rings of light. Those who saw the decline of the Erdtree and the fallen leaves long ago braced themselves for the weakening of order and embraced the strict faith. And then they made to serve a new god. So this ties into Dane. We saw this symbol on his armor set, which I mentioned a moment ago. And as somebody in chat had said, this will increase the McKellen style incantations. I don't know if it will buff Radagon's Rings of Light specifically. I kind of assumed that it would, but it'd be really funny if it didn't. Anyway. Holy damage might be weak sometimes, but Circlet of Light, Dryleaf Seal, and the Holy Tear, Sword of Light buff, and the Sacred Scorpion Charm, etc., you can deal so much damage. Yeah, also the Coated Sword has surprisingly long range and can deal really good damage too. This is the armor that you're using right now. It does not buff Light of Mikola? That's funny. Alright. A dog is being needy. Alright, sorry about that. The needy boy has been taken care of. He likes to be covered up with a blanket. Especially when it's light in the room. You're thinking of the Circlet of Light? Yeah, okay. It does buff Light of Mikola after a recent patch? Oh, so it was a bug before? That's kind of funny. Alright, so from here, we can't get down there, but we can spy with our little eye a neat little hippopotami. So let's take off our rata fruit and our fire pot because I don't really use those. So we need to go back up the river a little bit and then come back down. Forgot about the oozes. Human bone shard. Plus the dry leaf robe. Arm wraps. That word. And we can see a bunch of tombstones jutting off the side there, which is right next to that side of grace that we went to momentarily ago. And of course, we've got great dragonflies accompanying these gigantic tombstones. Which I think that's just like a common thing which happens. So maybe there's a relation between the dragonflies and the tombstones? Unironically. I think dragonflies might be associated with the dead a little bit, or like cemeteries in Japan. I guess it is night. That just seemed really abrupt, how it went from like sunset to just straight up darkness. Anyway, not sure how important all that is with the dragonflies. Just kind of an observation. Dry leaf robe, sun-faded and lightly soiled travel attire worn by clergymen. The gold necklace found under the breast belongs to a group of spiritual seekers known as the Dry Leaf Sect. This sect rejects dependence on others in all manners of faith, seeking self-discipline and self-sufficiency above all else. Which that might help explain why, like, Dane and whatnot doesn't lose purpose even if he's no longer charmed by Mikola. They seem to have chosen Mikola willingly and without coercion, but may have also been subject to it. So dry leaf arm wraps, sun-faded and lightly soiled arm wraps, wound tightly around the arms as if it might prevent them from being broken, which, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a very, 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 very common practice to wrap the wrists and the fist a little bit for events like boxing or MMA, that way to brace the wrist so that way it doesn't break. So it's perfectly on brand. And these are just leather boots, big deal. So what? Ayunat says it's the water, probably. I believe we find them in places without water, like Kaled over by Celia, where there's just a bunch of random tombstones. Or are you talking about like the Japanese cemetery thing? So yeah, as far as Japanese cemeteries go, they tend to have a lot of, not like recesses, but I can't think of a better word for it. Like with the way that they're, some tombs are designed, tombs, graves, I'm struggling to find the words. The way that some of those things are designed will cause a lot of standing water to exist in those areas, which will make them become like breeding grounds for mosquitoes and whatnot. And dragonflies are excellent predators of those types of bugs. So it kind of makes sense that dragonflies could become associated with graveyards through these kinds of incidental connections. Uh-oh. I mean, Keikakdori. Bro, why did that happen? Now we get another Erdtree fragment, which if we did not have enough before, we definitely do. To level up our site of grace, essentially. So that's kind of that for this little forested area. I think this is where we saw the golden hippo in the trailer, the one that used like the thorns, but this one isn't a truly golden hippo. It doesn't ever pop out the thorns, so I believe it's only the one in the Shadow Keep which does that. And I'm pretty confident there's no extra items that way. By that way, I mean down here in the lower area. Obviously, we've not gone to the Ailing village yet. Which I'm trying to decide if I want to go down to the catacombs now or like zoom back or like leave all of that for tomorrow. Oops. Vorb says, in Japanese folklore, dragonflies are often associated with death and the Buddhist festival of Bone. During Bone, which takes place in mid-August, dragonflies are thought to carry spirits to visit people. Okay, I thought there was something like that. I forgot that they were related to Bone specifically. Wait, what? Were there 2 hippos? The hell? He doesn't respond. I was like, what the hell is my mimic doing? I was like, did he use a Blessing of America? Immediately? That was the boiled prawn. Oh, because he used the lantern. I wonder if the hippo lost sight of me. I was really confused by his standing still. Another Shadow Tree fragment. I'm so confused because I thought there was only the one hippo. This is double hippo pond? Oh, okay. So maybe I missed that in my first playthrough then. Because I think I might be missing like 2 or 3 Shadow Tree fragments that I wasn't too worried about. This is like level 19. Because I only remember fighting one. So I'm kind of glad that I came back to check. Alright. Thank you. You've slipped off that waterfall so many times. Einat says, what you mean is that in Elden Ring, death and water seem to be connected, and the rest is, as I said, mosquitoes and dragonflies, and if you wonder why, that's why there are hippos in the Realms of Shadow too. Oh, you think it's a water connection for why there's hippos here? I never really wondered about why there were hippos specifically. I just kind of took it to be that hippos are kind of known for being extremely dangerous. Can you call them predators? I guess they are, but they don't really fit the stereotypical image of a predator. But I think hippos unironically kill the most humans out of any animal or wildlife in the world. Alright. So worried about my dog. He was just jumping down. And because of his history with seizures at night, I was like, oh shit. But he's been medicated, and he seems fine. Come on. Here you go. Good boy. Oh, there are 2 dudes? Oh no, it just hit me. I gotta admit, it was not the best plan to fight the Shadow Militiamen at night. They need more water to swim in than that. Yeah, absolutely. Stella says hippos are mean and huge. Yes. You can't domesticate a hippo. There's like an infamous story of, I think, like a Brazilian dude who got hippos, and you might be like, Brazil? I believe what had happened was he rescued one of Pablo Escobar's hippos and thought he had a bond with it, and like spent years with the hippo, and then it eventually like dragged him into the lake and killed him. Which, that's reassuring. I might have some of my facts confused. That one might not have been the Brazilian guy. Alright, and I'm pretty confident there really wasn't too much around here. Okay, that's where the tombstones all the way went down to. Kind of sucks coming down here at night because it's so dark. Alright, yeah. That'll be it for here. Dylan doesn't think hippos are actually predators. You think they're herbivores? They're just aggressive and mean? Well, they certainly seem to eat enough people that when they're that big, I don't think it really matters if what their teeth are like. Mikola became a monster out of love for how much he loves the world. He became a monster because of love for everything. Truly nothing more heartbreaking. Hippos fling their poops everywhere with tails. You were kind of expecting a golden dodo attack from the hippos in Shadow of the Erdtree, to be honest. I've seen that video that I think you're thinking of. Stella said, how are you not surprised Escobar had hippos? Because, I mean, my man was ballin'. He apparently, like, loved hippos. And, like, his hippos are... well, maybe not, like, the direct ones are still alive, but, I mean, there are still hippos in Brazil because of Pablo Escobar, as far as I know. Because I don't think the government got rid of them. Because, I mean, they're freaking hippos. Yeah, they basically took over an entire town in South America. Or was it Florida? No, it would be South America. Brazil is South America. All right, so let's go back up here. Recluse's River downstream. So as for the tragedy of Mikola, I don't really know entirely how I feel about it just yet still. I feel like he was probably in over his head, or just may have had some like fundamental miscalculations about the world and its denizens. So we used 3. Okay, that's what I thought. And I don't think he truly understood love. And that might be related to his curse of being a child. Which isn't to say that, like, I don't want to go down that route. Anyway, I think, because we're already a bit over time now, I don't entirely want to go into the Fly Village just yet. And that might be a good thing to start off tomorrow's stream, because then we could do the Fly Village, then the Darklight Catacombs, and then that'll bring us into Midra's Manse. So this took a bit more time than I expected, just to go through Charo's hidden grave and the Lamenter's jail. Although I did kind of forget that we would need to go through the front part of the Shadow Keep, because I initially came in through the back, and it's really easy to come here that way, but it takes a little bit longer to go through the front. But that's all good. So Alright, everybody, that'll be it for tonight's stream. We'll be going live at the same time of 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully we'll be able to catch you guys on the next one. So until then, take care, stay safe. That's Protagonist out.